Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. We are here on another beautiful Thursday evening, and we're excited to be here. We're excited to share with you another message of empowerment. We're just so excited that all of you had an opportunity to join us tonight or morning or wherever it is you are in the world. I always say this and I'll continuously say it that I'm really appreciative of all of you who support the podcast from all over the country, all over the world. In fact, we have people in over 170 countries that support what we're doing. So we're excited about that. And I want to thank you. For those of you who are brand new to the podcast, I want to welcome you. Welcome you to the Deep Dive family. We have a lot of fun, but we talk a lot of empowerment. We do some things that can help so many people, and that's important to us. So I want to welcome all of you to our podcast. Tonight's episode is going to be interesting. I've talked about this, I think, in the past episodes. But, as some of you know, I typically take some of my topics from the Facebook group, which is a private group for the Deep Dive Podcast listeners, the followers. And I ask for topics, suggestions, things of that nature. And sometimes they give me topics that I think are relevant. And tonight's topic is no different. I'm going to talk about overcoming stagnation. And I think this is important, and the reason I saw that a few times in the Deep Dive Podcast Facebook group is because people are suffering from stagnation. Now, when I say suffering, that may be a bit strong in terms of the word, but a lot of people deal with, okay, I'm doing this, this is not working, or it doesn't seem like I'm moving. What is that all about? And that's the basis behind what stagnation is. And I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk about it and kind of give you a few tips or hints or clues as to what you can do that may be able to help you get beyond what we call stagnation. The interesting thing is stagnation really affects every single person at some point in their lives. You have to understand that you're not going to go through life without any kind of, opposition or any type of adversity. There are going to be times where you're going to get to a point where you hit that proverbial brick wall, and we always all do it. It happens to us all. I mean, for me, quite frequently it happens. And I'll tell you why it happens for me a lot of times is because I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to control the outcome of my life, right? But you can't control things that, especially of God. It's not in my time or my will. It's God's time or Thy will. So I get frustrated a lot of times because I cannot control certain things and I cannot control certain outcomes, especially when it comes to having to rely or depend on other people. I think, and this is for me personally, my biggest frustration in terms of feeling stagnated is because I'm having to wait on somebody else to be competent or to just do what they say they're going to do. That frustrates me to no end. And it makes me feel like I'm just having to wait. And I know, I now ask this rhetorically, but have any of you ever been in a situation where you're trying to get something done and you're literally just having to wait on somebody else to do their part and you can't move until they do their part? That's what stagnation is. And I deal with that a lot, dealing with business and things of that nature. So it's a bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, what can you do, right? But everybody goes through some type of feeling of stagnation, whether it's with your job, whether it's in your relationships, even personal development, whatever it may be. We all experience periods of time where we just feel like we're not making that progress. But I wanted to share with you just a few strategies. This podcast won't be long, but just a few strategies that we can use to kind of overcome stagnation and really get back on track, whatever that means for you, getting back on track. I think the first thing we need to do in overcoming stagnation is to really be able to identify what it is, recognize recognize it for what it is. What is this stagnation in your life. You have to be able to identify it. I think for me, most challenges and situations start with identifying what the challenges and situations are. I'm a strategist by nature. My mindset typically goes through, a process, just being able to, figure things out or strategize or build. I remember a kid, as a kid growing up, it's very, very inquisitive. And and one Christmas, my mom bought me a BB gun. I probably wasn't no more than about 9 or 10 years old, but I had a BB gun. I got it for Christmas. I know the BB. I don't even know if they sell those anymore, but I had a BB gun. And on Christmas Day, I took the whole thing apart just to see how it worked. Obviously, I couldn't put it back, so I like destroyed it on the first day that I got it. And but I just wanted to know, how did this BB gun work? And then there was another instance. I want to say it was kind of like a little motor scooter I got for Christmas. Once again, me being inquisitive and a bit of a control freak. I'm like, how does this thing work? I started taking it apart. But this time, my mom caught me in the act, and she beat the craziness out of me. I'm just kidding. Like, here we go again. There's a difference between a motor scooter and a BB gun. But anyway, that comes from me just wanting to be able to control the outcome. And a lot of times you just can't control it, but you have to recognize what it is that's holding you back. A lot of people mistake stagnation for a lack of motivation or discipline. That's not necessarily the case. That's not saying because you're stagnated, you're not motivated. It's not to say because if you feel stagnated that you're not disciplined. Truth of the matter is that most people who are driven and disciplined and motivated, they still become stagnant. That's just a part of it, and they may not be growing, they may not be learning, but they become stagnant. What's important to understand about stagnation is that it's just a natural part of the growth process. I want you to write that down: growth process. And once you get to a certain point where things are not moving, then what will have to happen? There has to be a semblance of growth to move beyond that particular point. Whatever growth may mean, you have to grow beyond that point. So when you're looking at the entire process, the process of a life, the process of business, the process of relationship, whatever it may be, that growth process, once you feel stagnated, you have to get back into growing. It's kind of like, I liken it to, if you set your air conditioner or your heating thermometer in the home on, let's say, 75, right? When it reaches that particular temperature in the home, then the AC unit or the heating unit, it will just turn off because you set it at 75 degrees and the temperature of the house is 75 degrees, so it'll turn off. Well, if the temperature doesn't fluctuate in the house up or down, it's never going to come back on. And we're the same way in a lot of instances when we're talking about that growth process, being able to get beyond stagnation. Think of it as your thermometer has reached this temperature, and in order for you to move beyond this feeling of stagnation, you're going to have to grow. You're going to have to change that thermometer either up or down. There has to be some type of change. That's what it's all about. And typically, change means stepping out of your comfort zone, trying something new. It could be a new routine, it could be a new goal, it could be a new mindset, whatever it is, but you have to do something different when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. There are plenty times and many things that I don't feel quite comfortable with, but sometimes I have to kind of step outside of that comfort zone and make things happen. I give an example: talking on the phone. Talking on the phone is not one of my big things, and most of y'all know that, right? I'm not a big person that talks on the phone all the time. However, there are occasions where I have to step out of my comfort zone and I have to talk to certain people, whether it's businesses, vendors, whatever it may be. I have to do that in order to continue to move forward. I may not be comfortable with it, but it's a necessity, right? I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone. I remember when I started speaking on a in a public platform many years ago. And when I first started, it was like, man, it was pulling teeth. I wasn't going to talk to people. I'm not going to step on the stage. That's just not my thing. I'm more, believe it or not, I'm more of an introvert than anything else. And to stand on stage and publicly speak, that wasn't my gig. So, but there came a time where I had to kind of step out of my comfort zone. I was forced to step on stage because there was an audience of people who, for all intent and purposes, came to see me. And how crazy would it be for 300 people in a room that came to see me, and I'm afraid to speak? So I put my big boy pants on, as they say, and I decided to step from behind the curtain and get on stage and speak. I was nervous. I was sweating. I was just, it was crazy, man. But I had to come out of my comfort zone. But what happened is the audience gave so much love, they gave so much energy that, I'm like, man, this is not so bad. And now, in today's version of Sam, or the bigger the crowd, the better. I'd rather speak in front of 2,000 people than two people. It's that kind of situation and confidence and things of that nature. Because I came out of my comfort zone, it gave me an opportunity to grow. A lot of times people ask me about my podcast and my podcast topics, and just how do I come up with these things? How long am I, studying them or whatever? Believe it or not, this is the God's honest truth. Sometimes I'll think of a topic, turn on the microphone, and just start speaking because the content is there. Everything is there. It's already in my mindset through experiences, through life, whatever. Why is that the case? Is because at some point I decided to come out of my comfort zone and grow to a point where you could give me any topic at any time. I can get out of the bed, grab a mic, and do a podcast or do a speech or executive coach or whatever it may be. Now, I'm only saying that for one reason, not to talk about me and what I'm doing, but I'm talking about the importance of coming out of your comfort zone. If I had never come out of my comfort zone and felt comfortable publicly speaking, then none of this would be a reality today. So sometimes for you to get out of stagnation, you just got to come out of your comfort zone. That may mean a lot of things or different things to different people, but at the end of the day, that's part of that growth process that will trigger your thermometer to move and get off of just that 75 degrees, if you will. One way to do that is to set goals. And I know I talk about setting goals probably every podcast, but in the book that I wrote, The Mindset of a Champion, the one common denominator of every champion that I studied or interviewed, whatever the case may be, the one common one of the common denominators is the fact that they all are strong believers in goal setting. Goal setting is not just about setting goals for things. Goal setting is self accountability. I set goals typically every day, and I set that for a couple of reasons. One, to keep me from procrastinating on a daily basis, but it also keeps me focused on a daily basis. So someone would say, "Well, what's your daily goals?" Well, I write down everything that I need to do. Anybody that know me, they know I got my notepad or my OneNotes on the computer, and I'll write down everything that I need to do every single day, from most important to least important. And when I start my day, I start ticking those things off one by one, the most important and going all the way down to the least important. Those are goals, believe it or not. Those are daily goals, but they're also goals that keep you accountable, because when you're looking at this in black and white and you're saying to yourself, man, I got to make this call, I got to do this, or I have to do that, it keeps you accountable to what you need to do on a daily basis. So setting goals are very, very important. It helps you to break out of a routine too. Sometimes you can dictate your goals, or your routine, by how you set your goals. So we're talking about breaking out of routine. Remember, sometimes stagnation is a routine. I'm stuck in this same routine. I think about, there was an old movie. It was called Groundhog's Day, and this guy, every day that he woke up, it was the same day as the previous day. They called it, hence the word Groundhog Day. So But a lot of times I feel like that, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way. It's like every day it's the same thing. It's almost like the same day. You get up and you go through whatever that routine is, whether it's, taking a shower, getting a cup of coffee, getting dressed, going to work, whatever it is, it's the same routine. And if you didn't know any better, it could seemingly look like it's the same day, Groundhog's Day, right? Sometimes you have to break that routine and break a routine to eliminate stagnation. And breaking a routine could mean setting daily goals that are different than what you've done before. I'm gonna tell y'all something about me, and you're gonna laugh, probably talk about me, but hey, it's all good. Sometimes I like if I'm asleep in the bed, or if I'm traveling or whatever it may be, there are times where if I'm typically sleeping on the left side of the bed all the time, there may be times I just decide, you know what, I just need to be different. I may just sleep on the right side of the bed, not because of anything other than breaking a routine. Or I may do this sometime, and every morning I drink a cup of coffee. Well, you know what? This morning I'm going to drink a cup of tea, or I'm going to drink, if it's cold, a cup of hot chocolate, just to break the monotony. What it also does, guys, it triggers something in your brain, that something is a bit different, and it causes you to think. In all seriousness, it causes you to think a little bit more. It causes those juices in your mindset to flow a little bit more, because you're not stuck in a routine of stagnation. All of us know that once when we first start learning how to drive, we're very attentive to everything. We have two hands on the wheel. We have, the signal lights, and, all these other kind of things. You're very conscious and cognizant of everything that happens when you drive. But then after you've driven and been driving for a while, then you'll get in the car, crank up the car, start driving itself. You may be driving one hand, eating a hamburger with another hand. I saw a lady this morning putting on makeup, and driving and putting on makeup. You may be, it becomes a routine. It just becomes a habit. But wonder if even if you decided to take a different route to work or home or whatever, it's going to cause you to think differently. It's the driving is not on autopilot, because you've taken a different route. Your life is the same way. Breaking out of that routine is the same way. So you want to set goals. Now, even if those goals, like I said, are daily goals for accountability, it eliminates procrastination. But even on a bigger scale, when you're talking about goals, you guys have heard me talk about SMART goals before. SMART, SMART, SMART goals. And there's an acronym. If you're writing this down, there's an acronym for SMART goals. Again, I'm sure some of you heard me talk about this before. But with your goal, the first thing is the letter S is for specific. Your goal should be specific to whatever the task or the end game is, right? So it should be specific. The second letter, which is M, your goal should be measurable. Measurable. There should be a way for you to measure. Some in business we call that KPI, key performance indicators. There may be a way it should be a way for you to measure your goals to see where you are. Okay. The third letter, which is an A, it's an acronym for achievable. Achievable. You want to set goals that are achievable. Now, when I say achievable, for me, you want it to cause you to stretch, um, but you don't want it to be so far out, if you will, that it's hard to achieve. It may be difficult to achieve. So you want to have that balance there to make sure that those goals are achievable. But once again, from my mindset, achievable is relative, because I don't think there's anything that I can't do. It's just a matter of how to get it done. But the A is for achievable. And then the R is for relevant. How are these goals relevant to what it is that your end game is? How are they relevant? Because a lot of times people will write down stuff and it has no bearing on the end game. I asked someone a couple of days ago, actually, about their goals, and I kind of caught them off guard. But what they articulated to me, and I'm listening, I'm like, okay, that's great, but how's that relevant to what you're trying to do? It's not relevant at all. So part of having smart goals is to make sure that those goals are relevant. And then the T and the letter T in SMART is an acronym for trackable. Trackable. You should be able to have milestones and track the progress of these goals along the way because, there's always going to be adjustments. There's never a goal, a game plan, or business plan that's going to work perfectly from the time that you start to the time that you finish. It's not going to happen. I've never seen it happen. I've never heard of anyone that says it happened. But what you typically do, you're adjusting your goals along the way, and if you have a mechanism that will allow you to track those goals, then you can adjust along the path to the end game. So remember that in terms of your SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then trackable. Now, doing this, whether it's small goals in terms of your daily goals or the macro, which is in terms of your bigger goals, this is going to help you not become stagnant in what you're doing because you already understand and you already know that, at the end of the day, you're going to have to make some adjustments. It doesn't allow for you to become stagnant. It's always about adjusting to move forward. So once you have your goals in place, all of those are in place now, it's important for you to take action. You'll be amazed at how many times I've done seminars or meeting or executive coaching sessions or whatever, and I talk to people about writing goals, and they have a brilliantly journaled portfolio of goals. And then I'm like, okay, so where are we in terms of the process of attaining these goals? And they haven't moved any further than just writing those goals down. Guys, that does nothing. You may as well take those things and light some charcoal for a barbecue with those goals. Because if you don't follow up the goals with action by taking action, then they're worthless, right? So you want to be able to have something in place that's going to help you achieve those particular goals. I call it a plan. I call it a plan. I'm really, 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 really big on having a plan. That goes back to being that control freak. And I use this analogy over and over again. Again, those people who follow this podcast a lot, you've heard me say this, but having a goal is like going into a football game. You're a football team and you're going into the game, and the goal is to win the game. Well, yeah, that's great. That's the goal. But what is the plan? What are you going to do on offense, defense, and special teams? If you don't have a plan for offense, defense, and special teams, you're going to get beat. You're going to get beat. So it's not enough for you to go into the football game and have the goal to win. That's not enough. What are the actions? What are the work? What is the plan? You're no different when it comes to building your life and eliminating stagnation. It's one thing to have the goal, it's another thing to have a plan, that action towards achieving those goals. And again, a lot of times it's going to force you or cause you to step outside of your comfort zone in order to make this happen. And even sometimes getting out of stagnation could just mean trying something new, trying something different. My sister Carol, she is a weird character in this way. She gonna kill me. But she will only eat the same things over and over and over again. The same things. She just, I mean, you can tell exactly what she gonna eat every single day. It's always the same stuff. And I'm saying to myself, why not just try something new? My other sister Lisa, she will at least try something new, whether she like it, whether it work. But Carol, no, no, no. She gonna stick to what has always worked for her in terms of her eating and her menu items, if you will. I'm the total opposite. I'll try anything. Well, I don't want to say anything. I'll try most anything. I've traveled international and some of the things that certain countries eat, I'm sorry, your boy can't get with that. But you understand, right? I'll at least try something. But Carol, she gonna eat the same thing. Well, a lot of people are like that, not just with the diet or the menu, but just with everything. everything. They just won't try anything. Well, if you want to eliminate stagnation, that's one of the easiest things to do is to try something different. Try something new. That's going to help you at least open and expand your mindset. And once your mindset has been expanded, it'll never settle for going back to the original state. So you have to be able to understand that. Seek out new opportunities, seek out new experiences, do things differently. Again, we're talking about stagnation. Do something different. If you do something all the time, if you go every Friday night, you go to a movie, for example, right? Every Friday night, you go to a movie. I wonder if on one Friday night you decide not to go to a movie, you decide to go bowling just to do something different. Try or seek new experiences, new opportunities, things that can help you grow. This may involve going to some type of event or workshop or trying new hobbies or traveling to new places. That's a good way to eliminate stagnation, that to travel to different places, especially when you're traveling abroad, traveling international. And I know it's not realistic for most people to travel internationally, but think about this mental concept, if you will. When I travel outside of the US, I can't even explain to you how different everything is. I'm not saying different, good or bad. I'm just saying different. You know, Mindsets are different. I just mentioned to you, eating habits are different, foods are different, cultures are different, languages is different. Even political views are different. We look at things um, here in the U.S. from the red side of the aisle, the blue side of the aisle, or purple, which is independence. But when we get outside of the country, you'll see how other countries view us differently, no matter if you red, blue, or purple. It's different. Everything is different. So trying new things, traveling more, doing certain experiences is going to force you to grow. It is going to eliminate stagnation. Even if you can't afford or have no desire to travel internationally, well, get out of your home city sometime. If you live in a certain city, you just go to another city, another uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Tropical destination, or if you're in a cold weather destination, try a tropical destination, or if you're in a tropical destination, go to the ski and the snow and all this other kind of stuff. In other words, just do something different than you currently do. Don't do the same thing all the time. 40 years, 50 years, 60 years will pass by before you know it, and you would not have experienced life at all. So go ahead and do that. So anyway, guys, I think you get the point. I don't want to belabor it. I didn't want to keep this podcast very long. I think you get the point. It's important for us to just kind of be kind to ourselves by eliminating certain levels of stagnation, doing certain things to get out of our comfort zones, to take a risk in life or experience other things, whatever it may be, all the things that we talked about, but stay committed to staying or doing something different. All right. Stay committed to doing something different. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Just continue to do the things that you need to do. That's going to help you eliminate all of this stagnation, all of this hesitation in life. Not bad. It doesn't necessarily mean it's something bad. It's just you need something different sometime. All right. So, with that, keep in mind what we talked about. Thank you all again for joining me on this week's episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. I really appreciate it. Go to the website, the Deep Dive Podcast.live. there are, I mean, I don't know, a lot of episodes that are there. Kind of go through and pick and choose some things, some topics that may be relevant to you. Share them with someone else that may be relevant to them, and let's continue to grow together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share this episode. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on iTunes, we're on everywhere, all podcast platforms. I think 22 different podcast platforms. So check us out. All right. Let's continue to be great together. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world.